The three women before them, beautiful as venomous snakes, were also deadly assassins whose very names struck fear into people's hearts. The crosshairs of the scope had locked onto the target. A storm across Europe was silently beginning in a nearly perfect way. The number of people who died by their hands was countless, but a deadly conspiracy was also gradually being exposed. The story must begin half a month earlier. Carol and Alex were two professional thieves. That day, while on a mission, Carol was fleeing through the forest with a stolen diamond in hand. But Alex, her lovesick partner responsible for providing cover, was distracted, even busy texting her boyfriend at the crucial moment. Thanks to her nimble skills, Carol successfully reached the rendezvous point. The life-or-death escape without backup made her unable to contain her anger. But Alex was completely unaware of her anger, instead complaining that her boyfriend of 1 month wanted to break up right at that moment. Carol instantly felt utterly speechless with this lovesick mind. She urged Alex to contact the buyer for the transaction, but just as they were preparing to leave, a thick fog suddenly appeared in the valley. Immediately after, the sound of bullets whistling through the air echoed, followed by the buzzing of 2 drones. Alex skillfully weaved and dodged with the ATV, but the firepower from the opposing side did not let up. Bullets grazed the vehicle's body at close range. In a moment that hung by a thread, the two instantly understood each other and switched places. Carol drove the ATV, while Alex took a weapon from the back and fired wildly at the 2 drones. The rugged mountain road made it hard for her to concentrate. But in the end, fueled by her hatred for her ex-boyfriend, Alex accurately shot down the 2 drones and neutralized the danger. However, halfway there, the ATV ran out of fuel, and the two had no choice but to abandon the vehicle. Knowing that the pursuers would soon catch up, the two did not dare to linger for a single moment, immediately running to a cliff and finding the supplies that Carol had hidden beforehand. But before they could even catch their breath, the buzzing of a drone was heard in their ears again. Carol wisely hid behind a rock. Then Alex calmly raised her gun and accurately shot down the drone that was still relentlessly pursuing them. Next, they put on specialized wingsuits and without a moment's hesitation, threw themselves off the cliff. The wind howled in their ears, but for the two of them, this scene was a rare moment of peace. They soared freely in the air, dreaming of the beautiful life after receiving their payment. But unexpectedly at this moment, an even more serious crisis was silently approaching. When she got home, Carol discovered she was 6 weeks pregnant. This unexpected new life put her in a dilemma. She herself was living a dangerous life, like walking on a knife's edge. How could she ensure a stable future for the child? But luckily, she still had 14 weeks to make a decision, as this was an extremely important matter. She didn't tell Alex about her pregnancy, deciding to wait until after the diamond transaction was handled before truly planning her future path. Night fell, and Carol entered the transaction location alone as planned. Alex was hidden in the shadows to protect her. But unexpectedly, after receiving the diamond, the buyer suddenly turned hostile, not only refusing to pay, but also releasing guard dogs to threaten her. Seeing this, Carol gave a cold smirk, then signaled for the opponent to bow his head. The buyer didn't understand what was happening, but still complied. The horrifying result was discovering a green light from a scope printed on his chest. Realizing someone was ambushing him from the darkness, the buyer immediately raised his hands in surrender, then frantically explained that the remaining money had been transferred to Moraine, their boss, and that was just a joke. After that, Carol left coldly. She felt that these people didn't play by the rules, and with the new life inside her, she felt increasingly tired of her current life. Upon returning home, she honestly stated her intention to retire. Alex supported her wholeheartedly without a second thought, because for her, as long as she could be with Carol, she would go anywhere. But in their world, the right to retire was in the hands of their boss, Moraine. However, for the sake of freedom and the future, they both still went to the cinema to meet her. In the dim light, Carol summoned all her courage to announce her decision to hang up her guns. The result, obviously, was a flat refusal from Moraine. She had once given Carol a new life, training her to be the sharpest of blades. Therefore, she obviously could not agree to let her leave. Finally, Moraine separated Alex and warned her in a cold tone. Wanting to leave the organization early can only be exchanged with one's own life. This threat did not shake Carol's determination. She sat alone on the rooftop, watching the dark clouds gather in the distance. Finally, she made a bold decision. She and Alex would quietly run away. The next day, the two took necessary supplies and a pet rabbit into the forest, rowed a boat across a lake, and finally reached their destination. Unexpectedly, hidden in this ordinary forest was a dome house. Their spirits immediately relaxed. They sang and danced comfortably inside the house. enjoying the hard-won period of freedom. Before the fun was over, they both lay down to sleep. No one noticed that the pet rabbit had secretly run outside. This planted the seeds for a great disaster later on. The next second, a hail of bullets rained down on the dome's wall. Carol and Alex immediately got out of bed to check the situation, but there was no one around. However, the bullets seemed to have eyes, aiming straight for their position. Alex, relying on her experience, quickly deduced that the enemy had thermal imaging equipment. Fortunately, the house's structure was solid and could temporarily withstand the assault. But an accident suddenly occurred. The pet rabbit suddenly squeezed into the house from outside through a hole, revealing a weak point in their hiding place. The enemy's gun barrel poked through the hole and fired wildly, and Carol and Alex could only curl up behind cover. But surprisingly, the enemy outside had no intention of killing them. After a series of continuous barges, they quickly withdrew. When the noise completely subsided, the two dared to emerge from behind their cover. Seeing the little rabbit lying motionless, Alex couldn't hold back her grief. And Carol also realized that tonight was just a warning from Moraine. Knowing that hiding and running was not a long-term solution, she decided to negotiate with Moraine, but she never expected that Moraine would use the lives of innocent people to threaten her, demanding that she carry out one last heist, to steal the masterpiece La Grande Odalisque by the contemporary painter Ma. Upon completion, she would be paid $2 million. The specific details of the operation would be announced later by an intermediary. Carol was strongly against it, but was cornered to the point where her psychological defenses collapsed, and she could only accept, and Alex, of course, also chose to accompany her. Soon after, the two met with the intermediary, Abner. He told them that the target painting was currently on temporary display in Corsica and would be returned to Paris in a month. Therefore, they had to complete the heist within this period. After a brief discussion, they quickly determined the necessary preparations, obtaining the architectural blueprints of the gallery and recruiting a reliable driver. Because Alex had once skidded and bizarrely flipped a car on the highway, her driving skills were truly hard to trust. Following Abner's recommendation, the two sought help from the professional female racer Sam. This beautiful racer had just been fired by her jealous and embarrassed boss after breaking a record. So Carol happened to recruit her, and just like that, the three-person heist team was officially formed. However, the friendship of the two could never accommodate a third person. Alex found it extremely difficult to adapt to the new member, and her attitude was inevitably a bit sharp. Thanks to Carol's mediation, a conflict was avoided. Next, the three took a ferry to the island of Corsica. A heart-pounding treasure heist was about to begin. After successfully arriving on the island, the three immediately went to the luxurious villa that Abner had prepared. If not for the heist mission, this trip could almost be considered a vacation. After a short rest, the three wasted no time and went straight to the base of the arms dealer Clarence, preparing to select some guns and ammunition. But Alex had no interest in weapons. Her attention was completely focused on Clarence. She even used the excuse of choosing equipment to flirt with him. Thanks to Carol's timely intervention, the shopping mission was completed smoothly. The next day, the three went to an empty training ground. Carol personally instructed Sam on how to use a weapon, but having never touched a gun before, Sam instinctively showed fear and backed away. This reaction immediately drew Alex's ridicule. Thanks to Carol's timely mediation, an argument was avoided. At dinner, the three rarely sat together and chatted, but Alex keenly noticed something unusual. Carol not only gave up alcohol, but also had an unusual craving for pickles. She was a little suspicious, but ultimately let it go with a joke. Early the next morning, Sam curiously asked Carol about the story of how she and Alex met. Carol recalled that she was on a heist mission at the time and accidentally met Alex, who was running away from home. At that moment, she immediately realized that the girl in front of her was trustworthy. And so, from then on, the two became partners, fighting side by side in dangerous missions, and their bond grew deeper and deeper. Just as she finished speaking, Alex hurried over, then in a firm tone ordered Sam to follow her. Seeing the smile on Carol's lips, Sam had a bad feeling. The next second, the two drove to a beach. There were only 2 weeks left until the day of the operation. Sam entered a hellish high-intensity training session, from physical enhancement to learning shooting skills. Not a single exercise could be neglected in the slightest. Under training that pushed human limits, Sam was so tired that she fell asleep the moment her head hit the pillow each day. But the good news was that her abilities were improving by leaps and bounds, and her relationship with Alex was also becoming more harmonious. During this time, Carol had also thought things through and finally decided to keep the baby in her womb. After a long period of training, Sam's progress and changes were visible to all. Therefore, that evening, Carol announced the plan to get the museum's blueprints. Considering the mission wasn't too difficult, she decided to let only Alex and Sam go, as a way for them to build their chemistry. The next afternoon, the two arrived safely. According to the prearranged plan, Alex took a sniper rifle and hid in the opposite building to monitor all movements around. Sam, with her nimble skills, successfully broke into the architectural firm's office. Then, she used a cracking software on her phone to successfully break the computer's password and skillfully transferred the blueprints to her phone. Having completed the first mission smoothly, Sam couldn't help but let her guard down. She even leaned back in her chair and chatted with Alex. Unexpectedly, danger was quietly approaching. At that moment, Alex suddenly said in a serious voice that someone was approaching the office. Sam immediately sat up straight, as if facing an enemy. She had no combat experience and for a moment didn't know how to react. Fortunately, Alex was quick-witted, decisively using tranquilizer darts to take down the group and signaling for Sam to retreat immediately. But unexpectedly, just after leaving the office and entering the hallway, a man stood up. This was a test that Alex had deliberately left. Sam, with no combat experience, was frozen to the spot, completely unsure of how to deal with the situation. Taking this opportunity, the man quickly pressed the alarm bell. The piercing siren echoed throughout the building. Luckily, at the crucial moment, Alex's tranquilizer gun provided timely backup, but things had become more complicated. Sam frantically ran out of the building. After successfully meeting up with Alex, she immediately revved the engine and sped off. As a professional racer, this life-or-death escape was of course no problem. Sam skillfully weaved the motorcycle through the streets, occasionally performing difficult stunts that made passers-by applaud in admiration. After that, the motorcycle flew through a dark tunnel and a winding mountain road. In just 5 minutes, they had crossed the island and reached a plain covered with trees. The excessive speed still left Alex frightened, but she couldn't help but praise Sam for her superb driving, and at the same time, finally sincerely acknowledged her partner's abilities. Seeing the two return safely with the blueprints and their relationship becoming closer, Carol also felt very happy. She knew that there would no longer be any distance between the three of them. To celebrate the successful completion of the mission, they were invited to a party on the island. Alex's lovesick brain once again took over, and she quickly became close with the arms dealer Clarence. After the party, the two arranged to meet at the gallery to end this passionate night. But just as the atmosphere became extremely hot, a black man suddenly burst into the room demanding to join them. Before Clarence could compose himself, Alex happily agreed. The world of the rich is truly complicated, we dare not say more. As Alex was immersed in the sweet atmosphere, the man suddenly landed a heavy punch on Clarence, then tightly gripped Alex's neck. Realizing the opponent came with bad intentions, Alex quickly launched a fierce counterattack. She dug her nails deep into the man's ear, instantly turning the passive situation around. Then she grabbed a heavy object nearby and struck him hard. Taking advantage of his daze, she quickly put on her shoes and kicked the glass objects in the room to pieces. The man, having no shoes, had his movements restricted. Finally, amidst desperate screams, he was subdued by Alex. The next morning, the man's body was thrown into the sea. Looking at the sparkling sea, Clarence honestly said that the opponent had a bounty on his head, so he was definitely there for him. To repay Alex for saving his life, he quickly investigated the person who had attacked the dome house and killed the pet rabbit that night. It was an Albanian, whose leader was named David, currently living in Italy. Having obtained this important clue, Alex was eager to inform her two teammates. She resolutely declared that she must get revenge for her pet. Unexpectedly, this seemingly absurd decision received enthusiastic support from her two sisters. The three quickly arrived at David's hideout. They had a clear division of labor and coordinated seamlessly. Alex positioned herself with a sniper rifle on high ground. Carol and Sam disguised themselves as dancers to attract the target's attention. As expected, David and his men were quickly captivated by the two girls' hot performance. Taking this opportunity, Carol quickly used hand signals to relay commands. Seeing this, Alex immediately acted decisively. By the time one dance ended, all the enemies had been shot in the forehead and had fallen to the ground. On the ferry back, Alex took the initiative to hug Sam, officially accepting her as a member of the group. At the same time, Carol also frankly revealed the news of her pregnancy. Her two friends, though surprised, were genuinely happy for her. Alex even excitedly thought of names for the baby. However, their most important mission now was to steal that world-famous painting. Only then could they win their freedom and start a new life. With a beautiful vision of the future, the three once again sought out the intermediary Abner. Abner informed them that the day of the operation coincided with a highly anticipated sports match. At that time, the museum guards would certainly be watching the game together. They could take advantage of this opportunity to act. Next, Abner arranged the detailed plan. Tomorrow, he would use a food truck as a cover, providing remote guidance to the team. Carol and Alex would hide inside statue props and secretly infiltrate the museum, looking for an opportunity to steal the painting. And Sam, with her masterful driving skills, would wait at the rendezvous point with the modified car. After several adjustments and discussions, they finally agreed on a seemingly perfect plan. The next day, the plan officially began, and at first, everything went smoothly. Abner's food truck did not arouse suspicion. Carol and Alex also successfully hid in the statues and entered the museum. However, just as they were waiting for the signal, a series of incidents occurred like a domino effect. First, Alex couldn't stand the silence and got out of the statue prematurely. Then, a large film crew suddenly entered the museum, announcing that they would be filming there. Their sudden appearance disrupted the entire original plan, not only chasing away Sam, who was in charge of backup, but also flustering Abner, who was pretending to be the stall owner. But what he didn't expect was that business at his truck was extremely good. In the hustle and bustle, his communication earpiece accidentally fell out, causing him to lose contact with Carol and Alex. On the other hand, seeing no signal from Abner after a long wait, Alex's patience gradually ran out. She decisively told Carol to start the operation. Thanks to their extensive experience, the two easily bypassed the security team in the monitoring room. Then they went straight up the stairs. During this process, the two had a clear division of labor. Alex was responsible for dealing with the guards along the way, while Carol, being pregnant, focused on disabling the alarm system. They then went straight into the exhibition hall and found the world-famous painting, La Grande Odalisque. They carefully began to remove the painting from its frame. But just then, a member of the film crew suddenly entered the gallery, asking Carol why he couldn't see any guards, while his eyes were fixed on her hands. In this critical situation, Carol quickly and calmly replied that it was a replica. Then, she managed to overwhelm him with conversation. In the end, she successfully deceived him and stole the target. In another development, Abner finally finished selling his food. Just as he picked up his earpiece to give the order, he saw Carol and the others standing safely in front of his truck. The freedom they had longed for was right before their eyes, but Carol felt a sense of unease. Therefore, during the celebration party, she made a mysterious phone call and asked for help. The next day, Carol took the painting to meet Moraine. Alex, as usual, was hidden in the shadows with a sniper rifle to provide support. Moraine, of course, knew their tricks, so after checking the painting, she led Carol to another room and ordered her men to draw the window curtains. When her vision was obscured, Alex felt uneasy and quickly warned Carol through the earpiece. "I've memorized the position. Don't move or you'll get hit." Moraine saw their little trick and immediately showed a contemptuous attitude, but she had clearly underestimated the chemistry and trust between the two. As soon as Carol gently read out a coordinate, Alex, who was ambushing from the opposite side, decisively pulled the trigger. Immediately after, a guard fell. Moraine's face instantly turned pale. She looked at Carol in terror, begging for her life. However, the next second, a gunshot rang out from the 12 o'clock direction. The men Moraine had arranged to wait downstairs swarmed in. Carol quickly grabbed a pistol. Alex also immediately and flexibly changed her position, accurately sniping the enemies who were breaking through the door. But there were too many opponents. The sound of police sirens also echoed from a distance. Carol knew she couldn't retreat safely. She came here today only to deal with Moraine once and for all, to help Alex get true freedom. At the same time, she herself was too tired of this life and did not want her child to be born into a world full of danger. Therefore, she ignored Alex's urging to escape through the window, quietly waiting for the Special Forces team to break in. Alex, with tears in her eyes but helpless, could only watch as Carol was shot and fell. The powerful shock left her stunned on the spot. It wasn't until Sam's voice came through the radio, urgently telling her to leave, that Alex came to her senses and followed her instructions to retreat to the rooftop. In the end, Alex and Sam successfully escaped, and Carol's body was wrapped in a white sheet and taken away by a rushing ambulance. After that, Alex was plunged into the darkness of losing Carol. She changed her name and lived in seclusion in a quiet manner, never touching a sniper rifle again. Time flew by to 4 years later. Sam suddenly visited without notice and vaguely said she wanted to take Alex somewhere. Although confused, Alex did not refuse her old friend's kind gesture. So the two rode horses to a remote area. A house was not far away. Seeing the little blonde girl in the tent in front of the door, Alex was momentarily stunned, but mostly in disbelief. It wasn't until she saw the expectant look in Sam's eyes that she walked forward with tears in her eyes, intently watching the little girl play. Not long after, a wave of warmth spread from behind her. It was Carol, the person she had missed day and night, hugging her. Looking at that familiar face, Alex's tears immediately burst forth. It turned out that in the heart-stopping showdown years ago, Carol had not died on the spot. She had bribed the special police through Abner and staged a carefully calculated fake death. Then she changed her name and hid for 4 years. During this time, she carefully avoided any possible pursuit until she was sure the danger had completely disappeared before daring to contact Alex and Sam again. The joy and emotion of the reunion spread among the three, tears blurring their eyes. From now on, the 3 women and a little girl would completely leave behind the bloody storms of the past and start a new journey in life. Today's story ends here. Thank you for watching. What do you think of this film?